I remember the Bombardier CRJ-900, a sleek silhouette against the clear February sky as it began its final approach towards Toronto Pearson International Airport. Inside, 76 of us, a tapestry of lives, hopes, and dreams, hurtled towards the earth at a deceptive speed. Excitement mingled with anticipation. Soon we would be on solid ground. But fate, a cruel puppeteer, had other plans for us. The touchdown was anything but graceful. It was a jarring impact, a discordant symphony of screeching metal and shattered concrete. The plane, as if rebelling against its intended course, skipped off the runway, a bucking bronco attempting to shake off its rider. Momentum, an unforgiving force, propelled us into a sickening sideways skid. We, the passengers, caught off guard, gripped our armrests, our knuckles turning white as our hearts hammered against our ribs. Screams, primal and raw, filled the cabin as the world outside the windows became a dizzying blur. The plane, defying gravity's pull, tilted precariously, its belly scraping against the tarmac. Then, with a deafening roar that ripped through the air, the unthinkable happened. The Delta Connection Flight 4819, its fuselage twisted and broken, flipped onto its back. The world, for us trapped within, turned upside down. My journey on Flight 4819 began hours earlier, a seemingly routine flight from the bustling Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport to the cosmopolitan heart of Toronto. On board were business travelers, families returning from holidays, and individuals embarking on new adventures. Each of us carried our own stories, our own reasons for traversing the skies. Among us were seasoned flyers and first-timers, our faces a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The flight crew, a seasoned captain and his first officer, went through their pre-flight checks with practiced ease. Their world was one of checklists and procedures, a constant dance between man and machine. For the most part, the flight was uneventful. The usual drone of the engines, the gentle hum of the air conditioning, and the intermittent murmur of conversation lulled some of us into a state of weary relaxation. Little did we know that our ordinary journey was about to take an extraordinary turn. As the plane neared its destination, the captain made the usual announcements, his voice a calming presence in the cabin. He spoke of the descent, the weather conditions in Toronto, and the anticipated arrival time. His words, intended to reassure, would soon be overtaken by the terrifying reality that awaited us. I remember that day in Toronto vividly. The weather was deceptively clear. The sun, a rare sight during a Canadian February, shone brightly, casting long shadows across the snow-covered landscape. But beneath this veneer of tranquility, I sensed a hidden danger. The wind, an invisible hand, whipped across the runways of Pearson Airport with unusual ferocity. Gusts, reaching up to 40 miles per hour, buffeted the arriving and departing aircraft, testing the skills of even the most seasoned pilots. It was a day when the skies demanded respect. While the official investigation was yet to determine the exact cause of the crash, the erratic winds were an immediate suspect. Had they caught the CRJ-900 off guard during its final approach? Had they pushed the aircraft beyond its limits, turning a routine landing into a terrifying ordeal? The Transportation Safety Board of Canada, a meticulous body known for its thorough investigations, would spend months, perhaps even years, piecing together the events that led to this near tragedy. Their findings, when finally released, would be scrutinized by aviation experts and the public alike, eager for answers and reassurances. Inside the overturned cabin, chaos reigned.
Darkness enveloped us, punctuated by the eerie glow of emergency lights. The air was thick with the smell of jet fuel and the dust of shattered plastic, punctuated by cries of pain and confusion. Disoriented and terrified, we struggled to make sense of what had happened. Our world, once a haven of plush seats and overhead compartments, was now a mangled mess of metal and wires. The force of the impact had tossed luggage from overhead bins, transforming them into dangerous projectiles. Yet, amidst the terror, there were flickers of resilience, of human spirit refusing to be extinguished. We, our initial shock subsiding, reached out to help one another. Strangers became allies, united by a shared experience that transcended language and background. It was like something out of a movie, I recalled, traveling home to Toronto after a business trip. One minute we were landing, the next we were upside down. It all happened so fast.
clambering to safety.
As the initial shock began to wear off, my instinct to survive took over. Guided by the emergency lighting and the increasingly frantic instructions of the flight crew, I fumbled for my seatbelt, desperate to escape the wreckage. The emergency exits, strategically placed along the fuselage, became beacons of hope. But with the plane lying on its back, reaching them was no easy feat. I had to clamber over seats, my movements hampered by luggage and debris, fear lending an urgency to my every step. Outside, the scene was one of controlled chaos. Emergency vehicles, their sirens wailing, converged on the stricken aircraft. Firefighters, their faces grim, raced towards the wreckage, hoses at the ready, prepared to extinguish any potential blaze. The evacuation, though chaotic, was remarkably swift. Within minutes, the first passengers began to emerge from the mangled fuselage, some walking, others carried by their fellow passengers or the first responders who had swarmed the scene.
Angels in uniform. Amidst the chaos and fear, the actions of the flight attendants stood out as a beacon of courage and professionalism.
Despite my own terror, I saw them spring into action, their training kicking in as they fought to ensure our safety. They moved through the darkened cabin, their voices calm and reassuring, guiding us towards the exits, helping us release our seatbelts and providing words of comfort to the injured and the terrified. They were, in that moment of crisis, the embodiment of composure and selflessness. I remember seeing one of the flight attendants, Sarah Thompson, her voice filled with admiration. Her face was pale, but she had this look of determination. She was helping people get out, making sure everyone was okay. She was amazing. Their actions, though heroic, were not driven by a thirst for recognition. They were simply doing their jobs, fulfilling the oaths they had taken to protect those entrusted to their care. They were, in the truest sense of the word, guardians of the sky.
Searching for answers. In the aftermath of the crash, as the injured were tended to and the shaken passengers were ushered to safety, my attention turned to the daunting task of determining what had gone wrong. The investigation, a complex and multifaceted undertaking, would involve experts from various fields, all of us seeking to unravel the mystery of Flight 4819. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada, renowned for its meticulous approach, took the lead, dispatching a team of investigators to the crash site. We would spend countless hours combing through the wreckage, analyzing the black box recordings and interviewing witnesses, our sole focus on uncovering the truth. Our investigation would delve into every aspect of the flight, from the aircraft's maintenance records to the pilot's training and experience. We would examine the weather conditions, the runway surface, and the actions of the air traffic controllers, leaving no stone unturned in our quest for answers. The world watched and waited, eager for any insights that might prevent such a terrifying incident from happening again. For in the unforgiving realm of aviation, even the smallest detail, the slightest oversight, could have catastrophic consequences. The unending vigil, the crash of Delta Connection Flight 4819 is etched in my memory as a stark reminder of the inherent risks associated with air travel. It highlighted for me the delicate balance between human ingenuity and the unforgiving forces of nature, a balance that can be shattered in an instant. Yet amidst the wreckage and the trauma, I found hope. The fact that all 80 souls on board survived is a testament to the skill of the pilots, the bravery of the flight attendants, and the resilience of the human spirit, which offered a glimmer of light in the darkness. The investigation would continue, its findings shaping future safety regulations and influencing pilot training. Airlines would review their procedures, seeking to learn from the mistakes of the past, striving to make the skies a safer place for all. And so the vigil continues, an ongoing quest to improve aviation safety, to minimize the risks, and to ensure that tragedies like the crash of Flight 4819 become increasingly rare occurrences. For in the end, every life entrusted to the skies is precious, and every safe landing is a victory worth celebrating. Please click the like button if you approve of this presentation.